Hello and welcome to a Believing Hard podcast, a podcast about video games and the like. I'm your host, Mario 8th. Find me across the internet at Mario 8th. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Tumblr, I'm on this really neat video game tracking site, ggapp.io. I'm on co-host. I've made a singular post on co-host before, advertising this very podcast and Super Mario in Review. And hey, if you like Super Mario games and you like review game reviews, and you want to see my opinions on all the Mario games and how I rank them among one another, please watch Super Mario in Review on youtube.com/Mario8th every other Saturday. I post it at 5 p.m. Arizona time. So that's West Coast time right now until daylight savings, then who knows where it is. And this audio-only podcast is now on audio-only services. I finally went through and made an Anchor.fm account and added it onto most of the different sites that I could. It should be found on most of the popular podcast services, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google, Amazon, the like. And you can head to anchor.fm/Mario8th for the full list or the RSS URL, which is what I personally used to add it to my podcast player. Will I ever listen to this? Nah, probably not. And as always, Anchor.fm and all my socials and everything I'm going to talk about later in the episode will be linked in the show notes, so head there if you'd like to see any of the links I'm talking about. Anyway, I just brushed my teeth a bit ago. I'm a little tired. I'm recording this a lot later than I usually do, but it's been a busy day at work, so I had to actually work instead of record a podcast. But I'm ready to talk about what is a somewhat light video game news, starting with Rest in Peace Fanbyte. So, the first website I always went to when trying to pull news pieces for this segment of the podcast for 6 weeks in a row was Fanbyte. That is until this week, because a few days ago on September 15th, John E. Warren came out and said, "Well, to say this, but I was laid off from Fanbyte today." And that was the start of pretty much every single person who worked at Fanbyte being a video game news website that also did podcasts and guide work, among other things. Pretty much every single person got laid off. And it is a real bummer. It really goes to show how volatile the video game news industry is. If you're not one of the big three, like IGN, Kotaku, Polygon, those are pretty much the only ones I can think about now, you're pretty much on the chopping block. And my personal favorite is Waypoint, and luckily they're still going strong, especially with Waypoint Plus, giving them a little extra, but just what happened to Fanbyte was horrible. They were definitely my second favorite. I went to them anytime I wanted to get a news article. I really liked a lot of the people who worked there, and now none of them have jobs. I'm reading here. It was originally known as ZAM. The ZAM network is part of Tencent. Your opinion of Tencent is what is going to be. But one day they just decided, we don't want to have a video game news site anymore. And in just the cruelest way possible, they went to everyone who worked for them, one by one, and laid them off. And then they would tweet it out, and then their coworkers would be like, "Oh my gosh, am I next?" And then the next one would go down, and the next one would go down. They even laid off Imran Khan, who was in Tokyo for Tokyo Game Show this week. He was asleep while he got laid off. And that's just horrible. They even laid off the intern. They had an intern who this was their last week there, and they got laid off like 3 days early. It's just absurd, and it's a bummer because I really liked their message. I really liked what Fanbyte was doing, and it just couldn't exist in the world because corporations are awful. And if it doesn't make the most profit possible, then on the chopping block it'll go, and they don't even have respect for the people who work there. They're going to lay you off in the worst possible way. And it's just a bummer. Rest in peace, Fanbyte. I am truly going to miss you. Alright, on to some more lighter news. Oh my god, Portal 2 RTX looks really good. Now, today they announced the NVIDIA released all their new graphics cards that are going to be coming out. I'm not much of a graphic card person. I've thought about building my own computer at one time, but it's just, it feels scary to me, and so I never wound up doing it. I just bought a pre-build, and even now this pre-build is getting pretty old. And also the graphics cards are like super expensive this year, so I wouldn't even be buying any anyway. Maybe a 3080 since the new ones are out, maybe those will be a little cheaper, but that's all beside the point because they also announced that they're putting out a version of Portal. It's going to be a mod for the people who already own it on Steam, and it looks really good. It has some amazing ray tracing in it. Certain stylistic decisions were made that I don't think look perfect. The way that like the panels look inside of the test chambers don't look as old anymore, and that's a style choice that I don't think is as good. But in general, the lighting just looks fantastic. Oh man, I wish I could play this version of Portal. It's already been quite a while since I've played Portal, and I would love to be able to play it with just this wonderful lighting in it. I obviously can't. My computer I bought as a pre-built in 2017, I think it was that year, and it wasn't the top of the line back then. It's certainly not going to be the top of the line now, but oof, it's a pretty looking video game. Speaking of not so happy, but still lighter than a bunch of people being laid off news, looks like I will not be purchasing a PSVR 2. So last week I mentioned that I was looking forward to PSVR 2, but only if I would be able to play the current category or the current catalog of PSVR games on it. And they announced the other day that no, PSVR games are not compatible with PSVR 2 because PSVR 2 is designed to deliver a truly next-generation VR experience, said Hideaki Nishino. And that sucks. I don't care how PSVR 2 was built. This not supporting the current catalog, the already small catalog of PSVR games, and then only announcing like 4 games, none of which look that interesting, is like chopping off the legs of your baby before it's even born. Like who's going to buy a PSVR 2 now? They haven't announced anything for it. Like, I guess I could play the Horizon game, or the Star Wars game that's already on Oculus, or the Walking Dead game, or No Man's Sky, or Resident Evil. I listed every single game that's announced for PSVR 2. That they all are boring. Maybe not boring, that's a little bit harsh, but I can't imagine buying what is going to be an incredibly expensive machine for those games. If the old games were at least compatible, then that's a selling point. Hey, we know not a lot of people bought PSVR 1, but hey, all of these games have been updated to support PSVR 2, and you can play these along with these new titles launching. And the catalog is huge, and you'll have tons of fun playing this VR console. But they didn't do that. They said, we are too lazy to support PSVR 2 in an adequate way, so all the old games that you've heard a lot of good things about, you're not going to be able to play. You're going to have to buy the old, bad hardware, and if you want to play the new, shiny, good hardware, you're going to be able to play these 5 games and nothing else. What are they doing? What are they thinking? They're thinking it's too hard. And that sucks, because I was looking forward to finally having my first experience in VR, and now I'm not going to do that because the 6 or so games I have, because I got them for free on my PS5, I'm still not going to be able to play, because even if I buy a PSVR 2, they will not be supported, and it's really frustrating. Alright, up next, early GTA footage was leaked, and the gamers are at it again. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Grand Theft Auto. It is a touchstone in my gaming vernacular, in the sense that it is one of the biggest games out there. GTA 5 Online, I think it's just GTA Online, continues to sell incredibly well. But I've never played them. The subject matters just haven't interested me, and there also hasn't been a new one since I've started playing a little bit more games. And GTA 6 is somewhere on the horizon. Probably not too close on the horizon. I know Rockstar takes a lot of time with their games, especially now that they're trying to do less crunch, which is a good thing. But we're still quite a ways out from actually getting GTA 6. But the gamers are at it again. And someone, a user going by TeapotTuber Hacker, posted a zip file and saying, "Here are 90 footage/clips from GTA 6. It is possible I could leak more data soon. GTA 5 and 6 source code and assets. GTA 6 testing builds." Now, leaks as a whole is a shaky matter. I personally think it's fine. Sometimes things leak. Oh, a trailer came out early. Oh, you see an early build of the video game. That's fine. Some people really like them. It's like, oh, cool, we get to see a look at this video game that's coming out. Now, if it's a video game I was a little more interested in, I had to be a little more interested in watching it. GTA 6, I just saw a couple of screenshots and yeah, it looks like it's going to be a GTA game. People are excited. It seems to be featuring a woman, not Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde, except in modern day Vice City. And that's cool. It's nice, and that's cool. But then the gamers are so stupid. Oh my gosh, just their sheer ignorance and unwillingness to learn anything new is just so frustrating, and leans into the other opinion of video game leaks are bad being a lot more justified than they're good. Because these stupid people just don't understand what video game development is. They want to see these video games early, but they don't want to see unpolished video games. But all video games at this stage of development, very early on, are going to be early. And I've seen some people say that, like, oh wow, given how much stuff that the Rockstar is able to reuse in these very early builds, this is actually very polished for what this stage of video game would usually be. But then you have people out here on Twitter being like, actually, the graphics are one of the earliest things done in development, so Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be bad. And they're just stupid. Like, come on, you have to be so stupid to think video games are going to look good this early on. It's a process. Everyone knows graphics are done last. Whoever told you that is stupid, or you're being willingly ignorant to get controversy points on Twitter, because that's all people really care about, is making those numbers go up. And if you interact with it, people trying to get hate bait, you're only giving them what they want. With all that being said, hey, they're making a Grand Theft Auto 6, that's a shocker. Rockstar also confirmed, yeah, they're not happy that that all this stuff leaked, but it is in fact early footage from Grand Theft Auto 6, and they came out and confirmed it. And so honestly, I lean much more into the category of, yeah, it sucks that this happened. They should have been able to announce the video game in the way that they wanted to. Not that it's a surprise that the Grand Theft Auto 6 is being made, the sequel to one of the most popular video games ever. But I wish it was released with more context, so at least more people would be able to understand why the video game looks the way it is at such an early stage of development. Alright, off of video game news, and on to Star Wars news. So Andor is the prequel to Star Wars 4 and the prequel to Star Wars Rogue One, is the prequel to Star Wars Rogue One and Star Wars Episode 4, featuring Cassian Andor. And I usually wouldn't talk about this. The show is starting today, I think. When I'm recording this, it'll be out when this posts, and I'm probably going to watch it pretty darn soon. I I watched the first trailer. I usually don't like to watch trailers, but I did watch the first one, and it looked really good. And then this one quote that I saw today just completely sold me. This is from the article on IGN. We didn't want to do anything that was fan service. Tony Gilroy explained in an interview with IGN, we never wanted to have anything. The mandate in the very beginning was that it would be as absolutely non-cynical as it could possibly be, that the show would just be real and honest, end quote. And that is exactly I want in a new Star Wars. I want earnest people to tell good, evocative stories in this universe. This universe can hold so much. And right now, like the J.J. Abrams of the old world, only know how to resuscitate the old stuff in a slightly different context, disguise fan service and nostalgia disguised as something new. But the director, Tony Gilroy, saying that he wanted to do the exact opposite of that is the highest praise that someone could give this television series. Also, I saw a video of someone on reviewing the early episodes saying there was absolutely no references and implying that was a bad thing. That was also selling it to me. And so I'm really excited for a good show. Will it suck? I don't know, maybe. I usually try not to get too excited about things, but Star Wars, I just can't help it. I can't help it. Continuing on Star Wars, y'all remember that Rogue Squadron movie that was announced? Might still be directed by Patty Jenkins, the one who directed 2017's Wonder Woman and its bad sequel, Wonder Woman World War II, I think as they called it. And they were announced they were doing a Rogue Squadron movie. I don't remember too much about what this was going to be. I think it was like a direct sequel to 6. But just recently, Disney took it off of their upcoming premieres. And I don't know what that says, but it does kind of imply, hey, maybe this movie isn't going to be made anymore. Is it because the movies just don't fit in anymore? Star Wars 9 did really bad in terms of being a good movie, and Star Wars 8 was very controversial? Or is it maybe because Patty Jenkins just did a real flop in terms of the Wonder Woman sequel? I watched that movie. I shouldn't have. But who knows? But also, Disney is obviously focusing a lot more on television with Boba Fett and Obi-Wan and Mandalorian and Andor, which is coming out. So maybe movies just don't fit in with what Kathleen Kennedy, the current overseer of Star Wars, vision is of Star Wars. That being said, I do still hope that Taika Waititi still has his movie. I think that's still confirmed, and Rian Johnson recently spoke about still wanting to do the Star Wars, and I really hope David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, the people who ruined the end of Game of Thrones, don't get a Star Wars. That would suck. Although currently all those products, except for the Taika Waititi, the other ones seem to be in some sort of limbo, according to this Polygon article. Again, all the links in the show notes if you'd like to see it. Yeah. Star Wars. I like Star Wars too much. Anyway, that's it for news that I pulled. It was a bit of a slower news week. I think something happened earlier, but I didn't pull it. I'll talk about it next week if I want to. Anyway, on to what I've been doing. So, Splatoon 3 just came out, so naturally I've been playing Splatoon 2's single player. I started Splatoon 2's single player years ago now, and I played through the first world, got most of the stuff in the levels, and then I played through a couple levels in the second of 5 worlds, and then I just stopped for whatever reason. And then Splatoon 3 came out, and I thought, oh, I would love to play this single-player campaign, so first I'm going to go back and finish Splatoon 2's, and that's exactly what I've started doing. I'm partway through World 4, I've gotten all the collectibles up to this point, and I tell you what, Splatoon 2 is a really good game. That being said, I haven't completely not been playing Splatoon 3. I've done a couple multiplayer matches, some with my sister the other day, and I did to choose Team Grub. I didn't think I'd be on Fry's team so quickly, but I've got to go with my gut on this one. Get it? Get it? No, but my two teams were easily going to be Grub or Fun. But also, I do really like Shiver's character design, and from what I can kind of interpret from the internet, is most people are going with Shiver because she's the most attractive one. And then most other people might be going with Big Man for the meme. I like Big Man, he's great. But I'm going with what I truly believe in, and I like food the most, and so I've got to go with Grub. As far as if I was abandoned on an island, maybe not Grub. I would probably go with Shelter at that point too. But I'm not taking that too much into context, just that I like food too much. But also, the only reason I even really started playing Splatoon 2 was because my phone went kaput. I went swimming the other day, and I made a point of saying, alright, I need to take my wallet and my phone out of my swim trunks so that they don't get wet. Especially my phone, because it had a bunch of cracks on the back, and if water gets in there, I bet it's not going to make it. And so we got to the pool, I took my wallet out of my pocket, put it in the bag, and then I jumped in the pool and swam around for a while. Only quite a bit later, realizing, oh shoot, my phone's in here. Pulled it out, it didn't turn on, obviously. I left it out, still didn't turn on. Waited to the next day, still didn't turn on. And I had to go through my insurance to get a new one, and that's a bit of a bummer. Luckily I didn't lose too much, just my photos. It's still a bummer I lost my photos, but pretty much everything was backed up properly. But that being said, I lost my phone early in the day. I still had a whole afternoon and night with nothing to do, and I had to do something with my hands, so I just pulled up Splatoon 2 and started playing that, and had a good time. I'm excited to finally get this done, Splatoon 2's campaign done, so that I can get the Octopass expansion done, so that I can finally get to Splatoon 3 and see what that's all about. Will I have all of it spoiled for me by the time I get there? Yeah, but I'm there for the gameplay in this case. And that wraps up this week's episode of A Believing Heart. Again, you can find all the links I talked about in the show notes, including the social medias you can find me at, which is Twitter, Tumblr, ggf.io, co-host, if you want. And you can now find this podcast on podcast services if you go to anchor.fm/Mario8th. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you'd like to leave a rating somewhere on the YouTube page or somewhere on iTunes or Google. I hear ratings for podcasts help the podcast get seen by more people. And so if you'd like to do any of that, please do. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.